Shri Vishnu Chitta Kulanandana Kalpavallim Shri Rangaraja Harichandana Yoga Drishyam Sakshat Kshamam Karunaya Kamalamivanyam Godam Ananya Sharanaha Sharanam Prapadye.
உத்தமன் பேர் பாடி போகி உலகளந்த உத்தமன் பேர் பாடி நாங்கள் நம் பாவைக்கு சாற்றி நீராடினாள். நாங்கள் நம் பாவைக்கு சாற்றி நீராடினாள். தீங்கின்றி நாடெல்லாம் திங்கள் மாறி பெய்து தீங்கின்றி நாடெல்லாம் திங்கள் மாறி பெய்து போக பெரும் செந்தில் ஊடுகையல் உகள போக பெரும் செந்தில் ஊடுகையல் உகள பூங்குமலை போரில் பொறிவண்டு கண்படுப்ப பூங்குமலை போரில் பொறிவண்டு கண்படுப்ப தேங்காதே புக்கிருந்து சீதமூலை பற்றி தேங்காதே புக்கிருந்து சீதமூலை பற்றி வாங்க குடம் நிறைக்கும் வள்ளல் பெரும் பசுக்கள் வாங்க குடம் நிறைக்கும் வள்ளல் பெரும் பசுக்கள் நீங்காத செல்வம் நிறைந்தோரும் பாவாய் நீங்காத செல்வம் நிறைந்தோரும் பாவாய்.
Lord Sri Krishna, in his avataram, called as Sri Krishnavataram, brings about the quintessence of the Upanishads in the form of his rendering called Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In this beautiful work, he says, "Hey Arjuna, while I am surely pervasive and is found in every object of this world, and though you can relate me to every other aspect in this universe, I will mention a few things which I feel is very, very close to me. Amongst them, while listing down the months in our Panchangam, which is the almanac, be it the solar or the lunar, he says, Hey Arjuna, amongst the months that you know of, I am very fond of the month called as Margazhi. Margazhi is that month which is called Margazhi, of course, in the Tamil tradition. It is often referred to as Margasirsha Masam or Dhanur Masam. This month, generally people abstain for conducting any marriages. People often ask, "Sir, you're not conducting marriages in this holy month. If marriages which are auspicious events are not to be conducted, why would you call this month holy?" We need to understand that in our mundane life, it is also important for us to seek the spiritual bliss that our rishis and our mystic saints aspired for. To seek spiritual bliss, it is important for us to momentarily get rid of all the glamour and the pomp and show that we have for most of our family events. So, despite this month which is Margari or Margasesham or Dhanurmasam, being treated very, very holy by Krishna, to give this month completely dedicated to devotion and spiritual bliss, we don't conduct events. In this particular month, the culmination of the 30 Pasurams of Andal, the celebrated work called as Tirupavai, or whose quintessence is brought about in a beautiful Telugu work called as Amukta Malyada by Krishna Devaraya. The culmination is with an Andal Tirukkalyanam, the marriage between Andal, the mystic poetess, and the Lord Sri Rangamannar. And immediately after Andal Tirukkalyanam, we have the Uttarayana Punyakalam, and we have the holy month of Thai, where a lot of families start looking for the prospect groom or the bride for their children, if the children give that task to their parents. If the children can spot it themselves, parents are relieved of that responsibility as well. So that is the month of Thai, the Uttarayana Punyakalam. So as a transition from Krishna's Margasirsha Masam to the Thai Masam is Andal Tirukkalyanam. And this year, I am very, very fortunate to have been assigned the task of speaking on Andal's life, philosophy, and her celestial marriage with Sri Rangamannar. This opportunity has been bestowed on me by the very revered Sri Shiva Vishnu Temple, Maryland, Lanham. I have had the opportunity, blessed by our acharyas and of course by the temple committee members, to have performed in the past quite a few times. So it is my pleasure again to be addressing you all. I was supposed to be in the US in 2020, but nature had different plans for all of us. Globally, it had a different plan. It asked us to stay in our houses, to see how beautifully we have constructed our houses, how relationships matter, and how technology could bridge that relationship, and whatever said and done, how much ever technology could do in the coming months. Hopefully, when things are back in shape and there is some normalcy in our lives, I would love to physically see you all in person. Nevertheless, given the current situation, the temple authorities have assigned me the task of speaking in English through a lecture such as this to bring about the devotion, the bhakti in all of our hearts. Amongst the saints who have revered the Lord and His divine qualities, Swarupa Nirupaka Dharmam, and His qualities that are more accessible, which are Nirupita Swarupa Viseshanam, are the Alvars. So Alvars were the pioneers of the Bhakti movement in the entire country. So though they may have spoken in a language called Tamil, which may not be comprehensible to many North Indians and people who lived across the borders, they were the pioneers. They laid the seeds of the Bhakti movement. Of course, the Guru Parampara Saram, Prabhavam, says they may have lived from the end of Krita, Treta, Dwapara and Kali, whereas the historical evidences say they could have lived between the 5th and the 7th century CE or AD, whichever way you call it. So 1500, 1600 years before is where we can trace the birth and the lives of these Alvars. They were mystic saints. They practiced mysticism. They aspired for the divine communion with the divine couple, the Divya Dampati, through their chaste verses filled with devotion called as Pasurams. Pa means something which is sung. Pasurams are verses that are brimming with devotion. A compilation of these hymns called as Pasurams and chaste Tamil lands us in a number called 4000. There are 4000 such verses. They are called Nalayira Divya Prabandham. In this Nalayira Divya Prabandham, Alvars have poured their devotion. In these devotional hymns, there were many contributors. We had Purigai Alvar, Bhudattalvar, Peyalvar, Tirumalizhai Nammalvar, Madhurakavi Alvar, Kulashekar Alvar, Periyalvar, Andal, Tondaredipudi Alvar, Tiruppa Tiruppanalvar, Tirumangayalvar, and of course the hymn that exclusively talks about the contribution of Ramanuja through the verses of Tiruvarangathamudanar called Ramanuja Nutrandadi is also an integral part. So we have 4,000 such verses. If you've noticed, amongst them there is only one woman. You may be wondering, well, we keep telling that the Indian subcontinent has always respected women. Why is there so much of disparity? You may have, I keep telling people, when you come down to Chennai or any of these cities, you may have many shops that will be selling stainless steel vessels. They'll be filled with vessels, stainless steel vessels, and there'll be many such shops. But if you consider there are 10 shops that are selling stainless steel utensils, there'll be only one shop that is going to sell you diamond jewelry. And one bracelet in diamond, a blue jacket diamond, if you manage to get some, a beautiful bracelet in diamonds will be equivalent to the cost of all these 10 shops of stainless steel utensils put together. To just say that a number doesn't matter. There could be 10 or 11 men in the Alvars, but there is one lady called Andal, a little girl, whose verses are so profound and so famous that every household in the south of India knows of Tirupavai. There may be houses which could have never heard the name of Poigai Alvar, Bhudattalvar or Pei Alvar. Despite knowing the name of Nammalvar, there could be many who may not know his the quintessence of Veda, what he has sung called as Thiruviruttam, Thiruvasiriyam, Periya Tiruvandadi or Thiruvaimozhi. There could be people who may not know even a single verse from the 6 Prabandhams of Tirumangai Alvar like Periya Tirumozhi, Periya Tirumadal, Siriya Tirumadal, Thiruvedkuttirukkai, Tirukkurunthantagam, Tirunedunthantagam, but there are houses even in the villages, in the remote parts of the south of India where people know by heart, rote, they know Tirupavai. So Andal, despite being that one lady, has managed to reach the households of people. Who was she? Vedanta Deshika, the polymath of the 13th century, wonders if Andal could be very much the Amsham, the incarnation of Bhuma Devi, or looking at her beauty, he wonders if she could be even Sri Mahalakshmi. Sakshat Kshamam Karunaya Kamalam Ivanyam. Whether she could be Sakshat Bhumi Devi or she could be Sakshat Sri Devi is what he wonders. Now when we look at Andal's life history, it is said that Vishnu Chitta, a devout person who had learnt the quintessence of the Vedas despite not having been trained under an Acharya. Guru Mukham Anadhitya Praha Vedan Aseshan Narapadi Parikluptam Shulga Madatu Kamaha, says the invocatory verse on Vishnu Chitta. He sang laudatory verses on the Lord, so much so to even bless the Lord, which is called Tirupallandu, which is an integral part of Periyalvar Tirumozhi. He saw the Lord blessed with Sri Devi and Bhudevi on the Veda incarnate Garuda atop the sky, and as an outpouring of his devotion, unadulterated and uninterrupted, he sang Pallandu Pallandu Pallayirattand Palakodi Nooraayiram Mallandu Thintol Manivanna. Since he sang Tirupallandu laudatory verses even on the Lord, from that day onwards Vishnu Chitta was called Periyalvar. While he was 51 years of age and while he had sons, while one day he was plucking flowers to make the regular garland for the Lord Vatapatra in the temple, the presiding deity of the temple in Srivilliputturu, he heard a little baby cry. It was the month of Adi. It was the nakshatram of Puram. As he went closer, he saw this beautiful girl. As he picked the girl up, she was smelling more. She was more effervescent than the tulsi leaves and the beautiful Shenbaga flowers in his garden. He called her Kodai in Tamil, and in Sanskrit she is called Goda, the one who blesses her devotees with eloquence. Adi pura tudita adanam Kodai Aniyarangannudal Vunjaladinale Kodailali. So he brought this girl up. You know, fathers are very attached to their daughters. Mothers are very attached to their sons. He brought her up with such devotion that later when she sang Tirupavai, it was clearly evident. Her bhakti for Krishna was a mirror image of her father's bhakti to Krishna. Hence, when you pick up words and probably even lines from Tirupavai, you will end up seeing the entire story of Krishna. Shanga Chakram Yendum Tadakkayan, the one who has got Shankam and Chakram, Manne Vadamadurai Maindan. He is born in this beautiful city of northern Madhura, which is Mathura today. Orutti Maganai Pirandu, he was born to the very unique and the very special Devaki. Orutti Maganai, he was nurtured by another very, very unique and a very devout lady called Yashoda in that one unique night, Oriravil. How did he come from Madhura to Gokulam? Thuya Perunir Yamunai Kadandu, by crossing the holy waters of Yamuna. Then, Orutti Maganai Olirthu Valara. Then, as he was growing up, Pei Mulai Nanjundu, he killed that ogress, that demoness who had smeared her bosoms with a virulent poison and had come to kill Krishna. He killed her. Kalla Shagaram Kalakkaliya Kalochi. He even killed broke open the cart which was possessed with a demon called as Utkacha, the Shakatasura. Pullinvai Kindanai. He killed Baka, the very, very villainous crane. Mallarai Konna. He killed the wrestlers called Mushtika and Chanura. Vallanai Kondrana. He even killed Kuvalaya Pita. He was the one who was with the valor. He lifted the Govardhana Parvata. Kundru Kudaya Veduttavan. He killed Kapithasura and Vatsasura. Kandru Kunila Verindai Kadal Potri. He was in dalliance with Nappinnai, his uncle's daughter. So, Kottalar Poongudal Nappinnai Kongainel Vaithu Kidanda Malarmarvan. So, look at Andal's Tirupavai. Her devotion for Krishna is so beautifully and easily translated. So, as she, in her growing years, she was extremely devoted to Krishna. Now, she wanted to prove her devotion to Krishna. When she internally thought that to reach Krishna through someone is easier, she wanted to reach Krishna through an intermediate, a middleman called as Anangadeva. Anangadeva is the one who doesn't have Angam, Ananga, who's Kama, Kandharpa, Mara. These are the names for the Lord of Love, Cupid. Since he was burnt to ashes by Lord Shiva, he still exists without a body. So she wanted to reach Krishna through him. So she observes in Nachiyar Tirumozhi, Tayyoru Tingalum Tarai Vilakitri Tanmandalamit Mashimunnal Ayyanu Manal Kondu Teruvanindu Alagine Kalangarita Anangadeva. So she says, I've laid a beautiful rangoli on the ground with a beautiful flower kept in the middle, Anangadeva. Why don't you visit my home? Ask my query, ask my worries, clear it off by taking my love, expressing my love that I have for Krishna to Krishna. Why don't you do that? Next, in the next Tirumozhi of Nachiyar Tirumozhi, she tells, to reach Krishna, what should I be doing? Shouldn't I be building castles of mud so that I can give this away to Anangadeva, to Cupid, and he can go in turn tell my love to Krishna? Namamagiram yetanindra narayana narane unnai mamitan maganaga petral yamakku vadai tavirume kaman podaru kalam endru panguni naal kadai parittom தீமை செய்யும் சிறிதராயங்கள் சிற்றில் வந்து சிதையேலே. But Krishna, realizing that Andal is constructing houses, mud castles, to attain him through Cupid, Tirukkalyanam did not like it. He came and broke away the castle. The commentator Periyavachan Pillai says, thereby there was a huge Mahabharata war that broke between Andal and Krishna. Then she wanted to get it into intense pledge, oath, vratam. She got up in the early hours of the morning and she would go and bathe. கோழி அழைப்பதன் முன்னம் குடைந்து நீராடுவான் போந்தோ ஆகில் என் செல்வன் எழுந்தான் அரவணை மேல் பள்ளி கொண்டான். So she observed a vratam. Then she was promised by her father to be taken to a beautiful temple called Tirumalirum Sholai. So on her way to Tirumalirum, she and her friends observed a little game. So you draw a circle, then you close your eyes, and as they speak, your friends keep chit-chatting. You have to start drawing circle with your fingers, and then they'll say stop. And when you open your eyes, and if you're able to see pairs of circles, if there is 2, 4, 6, 8 even numbers, then whomever you wish to marry, you will be married. You may call it a superstition, you could call it a blind faith, but as long as such traditions are not detrimental to somebody's existence or the society, what is wrong in believing? Life is just not full of logic and logical reasoning. You need a beautiful and a judicious admixture of emotions and beliefs as well, right? So she did that. தெள்ளியார் பலர் கை தொழும் தேவனார் வள்ளல் மாலிரும் சோலை மணாளனார் பள்ளி கொள்ளும் இடத்தடி கொட்டிட கொள்ளுமாகில் நீ கூடிடு கூடலே. Then, as she observed her devotion towards Krishna, at one point in time, she thought she has to convey this to Krishna just not through Anangadeva but through other means. She now saw the clouds going in the northern direction from Srivilliputturu. Since they were rain-bearing dark clouds, she thought they will be able to understand the love that she has for the Lord. And she said, "O you clouds, while you're traveling across Tirumala Tirupati, please do convey my love to the Lord." விண்ணீல மேலாப்பு விரித்தார் போல் மேகங்கள் தென்னீர் பாய் வேங்கடத்தின் திருமாலும் போந்தனே. பெண்ணீர்மை இடழிக்கும் இது தமக்கு ஓர் பெருமையே. O you Lord, generally men woo the women. They will come behind the women and say that I love you, I am in love with you, please accept me. But here, a shameless girl such as me, I am running pillar to post to express my love. How long are you going to keep me waiting? And as she expressed her love to the Lord through the clouds, she was very impatient. She wanted to continue expressing her love. She saw the beautiful cuckoo birds, because kokilam, they can sing very well. So she said, I will express my love through these cuckoos. மன்னு பெரும் புகழ் மாதவன் மாமணி மன்னன் மணி முடிமைந்தன் தன்னை உகந்தது காரணமாகில் என் சங்கிழ கும்பழ குண்டே புன்னல் குரு குத்தினாழல் செழுந்தி பொதும்பினில் வாழும் கோயிலே பன்னிய போதும் இருந்து விரைந்து என் பவளவாயன் வர கூவாய். Why don't you go and convey my love, oh you dear cuckoos? She said. And as the cuckoos were about to go, they asked, they were Indian cuckoos, okay, I will do this for you, Andal. What will you give me in return? She said, I have been nurturing a very, very pretty, a very, very bulky, very, very pretty and a very, very obedient parrot. Oh, you cuckoo, if you get to do this job well by conveying my love, the love that I have for the Lord successfully, I shall ensure that you have friendship with this dear parrot of mine. இன்னடிஷிலோடு பாலமுதூட்டி என் வளர்த்த என் கோல கிளியை உன்னோடு தோழமை கொள்ளுவான் குயிலே கோவிந்தன் வர கூவாய். Why don't you go and express my love to Govinda And as the cuckoo went, Andal was still impatient. She thought, if the cuckoo doesn't reach the Lord and has found something better on the way, what should I do? She saw a group of men carrying a beautiful conch. Looking at the conch, though, the sattva guna resplendent white conch, she asked the conch, see, I'm madly in love with the Lord. And I know, O you Panchajanya, O you Shankha, unlike the chakra, which is of course the best of the ayudhams, but still has to stay at a distance from the Lord, you are the only amongst the weapons that can get inside the Lord's mouth, experience the smell, consume his saliva and get out. So as a lover, I would love to ask, how does he smell? How does his mouth smell? Karpuram narumo kamalapu narumo Tirupavaya shavaitan titithu irukkumo. Karpuram narumo. Does he smell like the camphor? Karpuram natramo. Kamalappu narumo. Does he smell like the lotus flower? Kamalappu narumo. No, I am done with the smell. I need to check how his saliva tastes. Tirupavada Shevaidan Tittirukkumo. Will it taste well? Maruppu Usitta Madhavantan Vaichuvayum Nattamum. Isn't he the one who even won over that huge elephant Kuvalaya Pita? Maruppusitta Madhavantan Vaichuvayum Nattamum. I want to understand how he tastes. How does he smell? Viriputtu ketkindrain sollari vensange. I can ask you only. Could you please tell me, oh you conch, how does he smell and how does he taste? She says. Then she says, Panchajanya, you have the unique ability. Generally humans have this habit of eating well. We eat like a glutton. And the moment we eat, of course, the blood sugar rises and we sleep. And once we wake up from our slumber or sleep, we get up and we eat again. So eating and sleeping is in a cycle. For you, oh Panchajanya, you could still continue doing two things. You could still sleep and you could still consume. What do you consume? You consume his saliva. And where do you go to consume his saliva? You get inside his mouth, consume his saliva, and then if you are going to sleep, where will you sleep? On his lotus-like palm. So for sleeping, you go to his palm. For consuming, you go to his mouth. Unbadu sollil ulagalandan vayamudam kanpadekkullil kadalvannan kaitalatte பெண்படையார் உன்மேல் பெரும் பூஷல் சாற்றுகின்றார் பன்பல செய்கின்றாய் பாஞ்சஜன்யமே. She tells, looking at the conch. And as she has sent messages, for example, Kalidasa in his beautiful work Meghadutam tells how the Yaksha, who's separated, who's suffering now from the Virahatapam from his wife, looks at the dark clouds and says, I'm going to convey my love to my lover through these messengers, the clouds, Meghadutam. Likewise, Vedanta Deshika in the 13th century expressed the love, the Virahatapam, what Rama had for Sita through a Hamsa, a bird. So it was Hamsa Sandesham. Likewise, caught between Vedanta Deshika of the 13th century and Kalidasa of the 1st and the 2nd century is Andal, who expresses her love through the clouds, who expresses her love through the bird, who expresses her love through the conch. Now, as she gets impatient, she walks by and she spots another woman who's coming from the other side. She wants to ask this woman if she has spotted Krishna. Without mentioning his name, she tells, Pattimeindador kareru baladevarku or kilkandrai ittirittu vilayadi inge poda kandire ittamana pashukalai inidu marindu neerutti ittukkondu vilayadi vrindavanatte kandome. Did you see the one who always keeps letting the cows and the calves graze? Did you see him? Did you see the one who teaches the calves how to drink waters from the lake? Did you see him? The lady in turn replies, I do not know if I've seen a person whom you are asking about, but I did see one person. As he walked, to cover him from the scorching rays of the sun, I saw him walk in the shadow of a huge Garuda bird that was flying atop him. Vinadai Shirivan Shiragennu Meloppin Varuvanai Vrindavanatte Kandomi. So as Andal is expressing her love, comes one particular instance where she realizes in Srimad Bhagavata Mahapuranam, the women who aspired to marry Krishna, who wanted to seek communion with Krishna, observed a vratam called Katyayani Vratam towards Durga, Mata Parameshwari. At that point in time, she also wanted to follow the path but make a slight change. To attain Krishna, they reached through Durga. Now she wanted to try it out in a different way, where she wanted to reach Krishna through Krishna. So 30 days of this Margari Masam, she sang a pasuram each. But she did not observe this vratam in silos. She wanted her friends, her divine friends, her Bhagavatottama friends to also join. And that's how she sang the beautiful Tirupavai. She wanted, by this vratam of Tirupavai, by singing, she wanted them to get those little instruments called parai, musical instruments. She also wanted to seek a communion with the Lord. She wanted to marry the Lord. She wanted to get moksham. Parai taruvan also means moksham. And she also wanted good rainfall for the land, because when there is only proper precipitation in a year, the right amount of precipitation, will an agriculture dependent country be able to survive, and so can the people. So in this pasuram that you're going to listen, Aari Malekku Anna Onduni Kaikaravel, Aariyul Pukku Muhandu Kodai Teri, Uri Mudalvan Uruvam Pol Meikaruthu, Pariyan Toludaya Parpanaban Kayil, Aari Pol Minni, Valamburi Pol Nindradhirndu, Taalade Sharanga Mudaitha Shara Malai Pol, Vaala Ulaginil Peididai, Nangalum Margari Nirada Magirundelor Embavai. So in this pasuram, she commands the Devata Varuna and Indra to give right amount of rainfall to Pandya Desha. Thereby you can extrapolate it to even Washington and other parts of the US as well. So she tells the rain has to be sufficient. And while it's raining, we should have a very, very divine experience. The rain drops that come from the clouds should come as if the arrows have just been shot from the great Sharanga bow. Sharanga Mudaitha Sharamalaipur. We should hear the thunder, the sound, the thunder. It should be like the sound that emanates from the conch Panchajanya. Parpanaban Kayil. Now there should be lightning. It should be like the light that emanates from the chakram. Aaribol minni valamburibol nindradhirndu. But people should be happy while it rains. Vaala ulaginil peididai. So in this entire Tirupavai Prabandham, she has sung 30 pasurams, which is treated as the quintessence of the Vedas and the Vedantas. She begins with Margari Tingal Madinirainda Nannalal, where she introduces the month. She says that the Lord has to bless them immensely. In the second pasuram, Vayyattu Vaalvirgal, she tells that these are the do's and these are the don'ts for the oath or for the vratam of Pavai. In the third pasuram, Vongi Ulagalanda Uttaman Perpadi, she tells this is the prosperity of the land where people observe this vratam. In the fourth pasuram, Aadi Malekkanna, she talks about the abundant rainfall that the land should receive in order for the people and the other living beings to survive peacefully. In the fifth pasuram, she tells this vratam is being observed in commemoration of Lord Sri Krishna. Mayanai Mannu Vadamadurai Maindanai. In the sixth pasuram, from the sixth pasuram onwards, she decides to observe this vratam in association with her friends who are Bhagavatottamas. So, Pullarayan Kovil. So she tells, Pullinvai Kindanai, there she tells Pullarayan Koil Vellai Vilishangin Peraravam Kettilayo in the sixth pasuram. Pullum Shilambinakan Pullarayan Kovil. Now she calls the first friend. In the seventh pasuram, Kisha Kishendringu Mani Chatan, she tells the next friend to wake up, and while she asks, why should I wake up? She tells, haven't you been hearing the chirping of the birds, which is akin to be saying the name of Krishna, Kisha Kisha? In the eighth pasuram, Kilvanam Vellendru Yerumai Shiruvidu, she talks about the buffalo, the herds of buffaloes that go grazing in the morning, even before the sun rises, as a chinnam for the early morning rise. In the ninth pasuram, Thumani Madathu Shuttum Vilakeriya, Dubam Kamala Tuilanamel Kanvalarum. She wakes up her friend again. In the 10th pasuram, she tells what are the benefits of this vratam to her friends. No true Shuvargam Pugugindra Ammanai. In the 11th pasuram, she wakes up the daughter of a very, very rich man. Kattikkaravai Kanangal Palakarandu Shetrar Tiraladiya Shendu Serichayum Kuttamunnillada Kovalartham Purkodiye. In the 12th Pasuram, she wakes up the girl who's the sister to a very rich man. Daughter, previous, sister, this Pasuram. கனைத்திலன் கற்றருமை கன்றுக்கிறங்கி நினைத்து முளைவழியே நின்று பால் சோர. Next in the 13th Pasuram, புள்ளின்வாய் கீண்டானை பொல்லாவரக்கனை, she wakes up her next friend. 14th, she talks about the woman who's blessed with a beautiful pond in the backyard of her house. Ungal புழக்கடை தோட்டத்து வாவியுள். In the 15th Pasuram, though it may appear like a conversation, she gives the quintessence of Bhagavata Bhakti, where she says, to accept mistakes that you have committed is one, to accept mistakes that you may have not even committed for the peace of the society is another one. Naneda naiduga in this Yelle Ilangiliye Pasuram. After she has woken up her friends, she is moving towards Krishna's house. There she sees the watchmen outside. She pays her obeisances to them in the 16th Pasuram. Nayaganai nindra Nandagovanudaya Koyil Kappani. In the 17th Pasuram, she pays her obeisances to her prospect mother-in-law Yashoda, to her prospect father-in-law Nandagopa, to her prospect brother-in-law Balarama. Shambur Kalaradi Shelva Baladeva. Ambara Mudarthu Ongi Ulagalanda Umbar Koman, Lord Krishna. Then Shore Aramshayum Yembaruman Nandagopala Irindirai to Nandagopa. Yembarumati Ashodayaryurai to Yashoda. Then in the 18th, 19th and 20th Pasurams, she tries her level best to reach Krishna through his beloved Nappinai. Undumadakalittan Oda the Tolvalian Nandagopalan Marumahale Nappinai in the 18th Pasuram. குத்துவிளக்கெரிய கோட்டுக்கால் கட்டில் மேல் மெத்தண்ட பஞ்சசயனத்தின் மேலேறி கொத்து அலர் பூங்குழல் நப்பின்னை கொங்கை மேல் in the 19th Pasuram. 33 அமரர்க்கு முன்சென்று கப்பம் தவிர்க்கும் கலியே துயிலழாய் செப்பமுடையாய் திரளுடையாய் செற்றார்க்கு வெப்பம் கொடுக்கும் விமலா துயிலழாய் செப்பென மென்முலை செவ்வாய் சிறுமருங்குல் நப்பின்னை நங்காய் in 20th Pasuram. From the 21st to the 25th Pasuram, she tries to wake up Krishna himself. Yettrikalangal edirpongi meedalippa. And then Anganma Nyalattarashar Abhimana Bhangamai Mari Malai Muranjil Anti Ulagamalanda Adipotri Urtimaganai Pirandu. 5 Pasurams she tries reaching Krishna directly. In the 26th Pasuram, while she reaches his household, Krishna opens the door and gives her a darshanam. Male Manivanna Margadi Neeraduvan in the 26th Pasuram. In the 27th Pasuram, Krishna tells, enough of your vratam, you can start eating all rich foods and decorate yourself, adorn yourself with all possible ornaments. In Kudarai Vellum Shir Govinda. In the 28th Pasuram, she commemorates Krishna as the one who gives blessings even to insentient and partially sentient matters like the cows and calves. So he must end up treating her also as one. So, Karavegal Pinchendru Kanam Shernunbom is the 28th Pasuram. In the 29th Pasuram, she tells that early hours of the morning, Chittan Jirugale Vandunnai Sevitha, I have come along with my friends to just say that the bond between you and me is unbreakable. Unnodu Urave Namakingu Vurikka Vuriyada Ariyada Pillegalo. In the 30th Pasuram, she gets back to her original state as being Periyalvar's daughter called Andal, and she tells, those who sing this Prabandham will be blessed with immense devotion and will attain legitimately whatever they aspire for in Vanga Kadal Kadinda. And as she observed this Vratam, one day her father observed that she was adorning herself with the flower garland that he had kept reserved for the Lord. And she had decorated herself like a bride and was looking at her beauty into the waters of a well. Seeing this, her father was very surprised, shocked and very, very agitated. He said, you shouldn't have adorned yourself with a garland. First, which was reserved for the Lord, he made another garland, took it to the Lord, and the Lord said, I will not accept the garland which you brought now. I will be accepting the garland which she has worn. So, Shudi Kodatta Nachiya, she wore and then gave it to the Lord. We shouldn't be doing that. She did, she's Andal. We are not Andals. So, this being the case, Andal was asked by her father, whom will you marry? She said, I will marry anybody whom you say, but he shouldn't be a human being. Maanidavarku emmai pechuppadil vazhagillen kandai manmadane. As both of them were confused as to what is the way ahead, that night, Andal had a very divine dream. the dream of Trijata, which was narrated to Sita in Sundarakandam in Ramayanam, the dream of Usha, Banasura's daughter, which she narrated to Chitralekha in Srimad Bhagavatam, the dream what Vasavadatta is said to have been a mixed state of dream and the real state, Swapna Vasavattam. Similarly is this beautiful dream that was narrated by Andal as seen by her to her friend, which is Varanam Ayiram Shuravalam Sheidu. Now we will listen to a jamboree of a medley of this Varanam Ayiram.
Varanam Ayiram Shuravalam Sheidu Varanam Nambi Nadakindran Yendrede Varanam Ayiram Shuravalam Sheidu Varanam Nambi Nadakindran Yendrede Purana Porkudam Vaitha Puravengu Toranam Nadakana Kandin Thorina Purana Porkudam Vaitha Puravengu Toranam Nadakana Kandin Thorina Samagama Magama Banisa Sanirida Magama Nidanisa Nade Puguda Kana Kandin Thorina Nade Puguda Kana Kandin Thorina Nisanida Panida Pamagama Magama Padapa Sanida Pamagari Sanisa Mandira Kodi Buduti Manamai Andari Shuda Kana Kandin Thorina Mandira Kodi Buduti Manamai Andari Shuda Kana Kandin Thorina Samangarisa Parisa Nidapa Sanipa Magamaga Pamamaga Salika Apnan Kanda Kana Kandin Thorina Kapnan Kanda Kana Kandin Thorina Sagama Mamaga Sanipa Nisaga Sanipa Sanidapa Magari Sanidama Padanisa Adida Puguda Kana Kandin Thorina Adida Puguda Kana Kandin Thorina Sanigama Gari Sanigama Padapa Mapa Mabari Sani Sada Sada Nipa Magaita Lampata Kana Kandin Thorina Gaita Lampata Kana Kandin Thorina Mamari Sani Sani Niri Sada Nipa Danisa Sani Dapa Magama Magari Sani Palal Sheiya Kana Kandin Thorina Palal Sheiya Kana Kandin Thorina Gari Sani Dani Sani Dapa Mapa Nipa Magari Sani Sani Mapa Sani Mapa Nisa Ammi Vidika Kana Kandin Thorina Ammi Vidika Kana Kandin Thorina Nisari Nipa Gama Nipa Magari Sani Maga Pamani Dapa Maga Papa Nidasa Hori Mugal Datta Kana Kandin Thorina Hori Mugal Datta Kana Kandin Thorina Pama Paga Magari Sani Rini Sani Dapa Pama Paga Magari Sani Dapa Magari Sani Nata Kalai Pudam Andali Shuta Kapnan Kaitam Adira Puda Kaitanam Patam Nivalan Sheiya Ammi Vidika Hori Mukanda Kana Kandin Thorina
in Varanamayiram, Andal narrates beautifully this excellent Prabandham. And at the end of it, Periyalvar too came and said, "My dear daughter, the Lord has said that he will marry you. Now, this being Kali Yugam, you will have to choose which Archavataram are you ready to marry." The girl asked, "Father, give me a few choices. I will decide." The father said, "Why don't you marry Badri Narayana of Badrinath?" She said, "Father, it's a very cold place. I've grown up in Srivilliputtur in the Pandya Desham. I will not be able to adjust to the cold weather all of a sudden. Will you marry Lord Ramachandra of Ayodhya now that all the problems have been solved? There'll be a beautiful temple for him. I will have a Sannidhi for you as well. Why don't you marry Andal?" She said, "My dear father, Ramachandra has taken an oath that he will be married only to Sita and nobody else. So how can I interfere in their peaceful life? Will you marry Srinathji of Dwaraka?" "Father, I have no problems in marrying Srinathji, but the only thing is he's a glutton. He keeps eating. Chappan bhog, chappan bhog, chappan bhog. Do you think I can keep cooking for my dear husband all the time? Will you marry Vitthal of Pandharpur? He's been adored by all the saints like Namdev, Jnaneshwar, Tukaram, Eknath. Why don't you marry him?" "Father, he stands on a single brick. Vitthal. I don't think he'll make a beautiful dwelling for us. I won't be marrying him." "Will you be marrying Jagannath of Purushottama Kshetram, Puri in Odisha?" "Father, very, very handsome lord. The only thing is he, in the same house, is also my sister-in-law. Natana, Nananda, Nadni. Adapaduchu is what they say in Telugu, if I'm right, if my pronunciation is right. So, there's going to be even the sister-in-law, Subhadra, there. I don't think I can have a happy living with my sister-in-law in my house. Will you marry Lord Sri Venkateshwara Swami of Tirumala Tirupati?" "Good option, father. Very rich man. The only thing is I have to visit my husband in a queue and they'll say Jaragandi by pushing me." "No, father." "Will you marry Lord Sri Krishna of Guruvayur?" "Guruvayur Krishna ralle." "Father, I am 2 feet and he's 1 foot. I should end up putting him on my lap. I want a macho husband." "Will you marry Anantapadmanabha of Tiruvananthapuram?" "Father, if you had given me an option of marrying Anantapadmanabha of Tiruvananthapuram, I would have said no. There's so much of gold problem there. So many people are aspiring to take the gold. But I would have married the Anantapadmanabha of SSVT temple." "Okay, if you're not marrying Anantapadmanabha, will you marry a Parthasarathi of Tiruvallikeni, Triplicane in Chennai?" "Father, very, very handsome, but he has a moustache. I want a clean shaven face." "Then I have no other option, my dear daughter. You're left with only one option, which is the Lord Sri Ranganatha of Srirangam." "Good option, father." "Palli kollumidattadi kottida kollumagil nee koodida koodale." So he adorned his daughter with a beautiful silken vastram. The minister of the king of Pandya Desham also accompanied, Shelvanambi. He adorned her with a beautiful gem-studded Pandyan kondai, with a kondai, with beautiful pearl strings that are flowing down. She was taken in the palanquin, and as they were crossing the waters of the southern Kaveri tributary, they crossed the coconut groves. The first circumambulation called as Adaivalanjan, the second Chitravidi, Uttaravidi, and as they got inside, she got down from the palanquin, and as she walked, the priests of the temple were also commanded by the Lord to adorn the Utsavamurti, Namperumal, beautifully. And as they went there, her friends made fun. "Is this the old man that you're going to marry, Andal? Doesn't he fly on the bird? I don't think there'll be place for you on the Garuda. Well, what will you do?" She said, "I'll take an Uber." "Okay, I don't think you will have some place to sleep. I believe he sleeps on a snake. He'll give some place for me," she replied. "He seems very old." "That's okay. Older men are nice to be with. I will be with him." So this is the way that they had a conversation. It's a fun conversation. Nageshayaha Pakshiratham, says Vedanta Deshika. Jata Swayamvarapati Purusha Puranaha. And they started exchanging garlands. Here comes the very, very effervescent, timeless, eternal song called as Male Shatrinal. Please do listen to it.
Male Shatrinal, Kodai Male Matrinal. Male Shatrinal, Kodai Male Matrinal. Maladeindha Madilarangan, Male Avatan Madile. Male Shatrinal, Kodai Male Matrinal. Maladeindha Madilarangan,
over. The beautiful garlands that got exchanged, and finally Andal was given in marriage to Ranganatha Namperumal, and as she walked inside the sanctum sanctorum, she was to stay there forever. Periyalvar turned and said, Urumagal tannai udayen avalai thirumagal pol valarthen Shenkanmaldan kondu ponano. I have had the unique opportunity in this world to nurture the daughter who is the quintessence of spiritual knowledge, and today I am giving her away in marriage to this man. I will never be able to see her again. As he said, the Lord said, do not worry. People have been thinking that I've been facing the southern direction from Srirangam to bless Vibhishana. No, but it is to see my father-in-law, you Periyalvar. I shall come to your house as the son-in-law, and I shall marry your daughter again, and I shall stay in your house with your daughter. And he came as Rangamannar and married Andal in the beautiful city of Srivilliputturu. Andal, on one hand, her life is an epitome of Krishna Bhakti. Her verses in Nachiyar Tirumozhi and Tiruppavai may speak of avatarams as given to us by Valmiki, Vyasa, Shuka in Bhagavatam, Vishnu Puranam, Mahabharatam and Ramayanam. She may have bequeathed the devotion of her predecessors from Poigai Alvar. Her pasurams bring about the essence of the Rahasyatrayam, Ashtaksharam, Dvayam and Charamashlokamam as laid out in the Vaishnava scriptures. Her devotion was so strong that even the Lord had to command a great patron of literature called Krishna Devaraya in the beautiful Telugu language to write a work exclusively dedicated to Periyalvar, Andal, their lives, their prabandham, their devotion to the Lord called Amukta Malyada, which is revered as one of the Panchamahakavyas in Telugu literature. Her devotion in the land of Karnataka knows no bounds. Her devotion is akin to what North Indians call as Meera's Bhakti to Krishna. Andal is none but the goddess herself. Her devotion is a path breaker and a trend setter in many, many ways. Her marriage to Ranganatha, or you can even have it as Lord Srinivasa or Ananta Padmanabha in the SSVT temple, is an exemplification of the fact that a Jivatma can reach the Paramatma with a beautiful marriage through Sharanagati and the mantra called Ashtakshara. In this very limited time, I tried my level best to bring about the quintessence, the essence, the saram of Andal's life history through her works and through her marriage to the Lord. If I have committed any mistakes in this duration, please forgive me for them. It was just an amateur's act of expressing the devotion of Andal. I would like to thank the SSVT temple again. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Namaskar.